Hi folks, today we're in the workshop and I've been challenged by First Fill Magnets to use 10 of their magnets in 10 different ways for the workshop and DIY hacks. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll share how you can get a discount off all their products, plus also reveal my favourite one of all. Right, let's start off with a nice simple one. Tape measures. We all know there's never enough of them, but if you can stick one somewhere, you might just find it a bit easier. So the belt clip that's often on a tape measure is usually held in by a single screw. What I worked out is that if you take that screw off, you can use one of the countersunk magnets with the hole already in. I use a slightly longer screw here, or you may be able to reuse the same one. And then within a couple of minutes, you've got a nice small lightweight tape measure that you can leave on that tool, whether it's on the wall behind, on the cast iron, or up on the body of the saw itself. And hopefully, I'll always know where that one is. And another pet hate at the bandsaw is my safety specs. They always sit there gathering dust up on the top. Instead, I stuck a magnet to the arm, and that way I can just hook them on the side of the tool and they're always there. Now onto something a bit different now. The GoPro, again, having steel walls and steel ceilings in my workshop, it made sense to create some brackets. Using a nice flat but powerful magnet, I was able to take one of the many clamps that are always kicking around. This one is a tripod adapter, and I was able to just glue that down. And then finally, I decided to bond a little bit of EPDM rubber to the bottom of it, which would give a protective layer, whether it's going onto a painted surface or just a little bit of noise isolation. And that was it. Another quite simple, straightforward way of using the magnets. Okay, 3 more rapid fire ways of using magnets on tools. These countersunk small little magnets are super powerful. They've got the hole there if you can screw them into something, or you can just glue them. So I glued one either side of my impact driver. Whether it's bits or screws, it's a really handy way of keeping things on the tool and not rummaging around your pockets when you're up a ladder. And in a similar way for my pillar drill, where I've always had a small magnet there to hold my chuck, I put 2 more of these handy strip magnets on there, and that way I could always keep my chucks, countersink bits, anything like that that I know I'm going to need, and they're always there. And whilst I was at it, I took a box over to the studio, and Jo was able to use them on the side of her sewing machine to hold things like scissors and little picky things for getting threads out. Okay, now on to something a little bit more serious. Time to make the sparks fly. For this project, I wanted to create a way of hanging lighting or microphones from the ceiling of my workshop. I took a simple little corner bracket and cut that in half to give me 2 little strips of steel. And the aim now is to create a cold shoe style mount. So that's like you would have on the top of a camera. So I took a block of wood. I'm going to be able to then cut a channel in that which will take the shoe fitting from whatever I'm installing. And once I tested the light to make sure that it stayed nice and snug in place, then I just moved on to grinding and polishing up the steel pieces on there, and then I'll set about marking up to set our magnets into the back. And then with the drill set up to drill down the depth of the magnet, I could set all 4 magnets in there, glue and screw them in place, and then I'd have a nice strong bond to secure it to whatever I needed. Okay, on to another simple yet very handy way of using magnets on our workshop floor attachment for the vacuum. I've decided to set the magnet up a little bit to make sure that any picked up screws were no longer going to scratch the floor. But I ran a whole series of these small strip magnets. They're really powerful for their size, these ones, and once they were glued on, it worked really effectively at just picking out nails, screws and hardware out of sawdust and whatever other clutter I'm vacuuming up off our workshop floor. And then next up, something quite similar but again, a little bit of a different application. I wanted a way of picking out nails that may have made their way into firewood that we burn in our wood burner. So what I did is took a piece of doweling that was hanging around in the workshop, and using a few more of those small little round countersink magnets, I set them into the end of our wooden dowel. Now there may be better magnets for this application, but this was a great way of just setting them in there. Next job was to find a little bit of pipe that would slip over the dowel, and then I drilled and made a handle for the end. Once that was all in place, I filled over all of the magnets. There's only a millimetre or two over the top, so they're nice and strong still. And then with the paint that I could find, which was sparkly pink, we were able to finish it off, and then Joe set about demonstrating it in the wood burner. Now this would work even better if that was a slightly more snug fit, that pipe, but it still worked well to clear off anything that had been picked up by the magnets. Okay, a favourite way of using a magnet over the past few years has been to use a simple fridge magnet to pick up on a screw behind plasterboard. It's a well-known little magnet hack, but this was a way of using a much stronger magnet in a purpose-built block of wood, which we will make into our stud finder. So after finding the centre point, I set in the magnet that had been supplied, which was a nice, thick, chunky magnet, very strong, and I set the drill to drill down that depth, just holding it just below the surface of the wood so we didn't damage or mark our plaster. With that done, I glued and screwed that in place, and this is a nice, very strong magnet, so it even picked up on nails in the old lath and plaster walls. And you can see here, just for an added twist, I decided to use a little burning engraver tool to burn our centre lines in there. That just means that I can mark on the wall and use a spirit level to pick up on all our studs, whether they're hanging mirrors or shelves or anything like that. That evening I trialled it out in the studio. We were just hanging Joe's wall display, and again it was a way of picking up on the screws. Once you found one, you can work down, make sure you've got a stud, not a noggin, and mark up. Now we're on to a really great hack. Now this one I can't take credit for. I spotted it somewhere on the internet years ago and I had to try it. So using a large ring magnet, my initial intention was to make some sort of broom head contraption to rake it through the fire, but this works so much better. Take an old simple bucket, you can pop the magnet in the bottom there, hover it over or rummage it through your ashes, and it very simply picks up on just about anything it finds that's steel. Hover it over, lift up the magnet, and everything drops off. Okay, next up, something a bit different. I don't need to explain much here. I'll let you listen, and hopefully you pick out the difference. Well, there we go. I think we squeezed 10 or 11 in there. Certainly got me thinking, and I always like to be challenged. I have now just got magnets everywhere and everything is kind of stuck in one big mass. I'm definitely going to be sorting these through, putting them in their boxes and digging them out for future projects so I can see how helpful they can be. Even these ones which we never got around to using, little magnetic hooks. Of course, we've got steel walls and steel ceilings in here. They're really handy. I don't have to be screwing into the walls or anything. So just for things like push sticks and anything like that, I can just hang them on the wall. They're super handy. Now, I did say I was going to share my favourite of all, and I will do that. First of all, I'll put the discount code down here and in the description. If you want to follow any of those links, you can head over there, get the discount and pick up project magnets for your own projects. Now I can't make it my favourite because I feel it doesn't deserve it. I really didn't put much effort in, but the bucket and the magnet for the bonfire, so simple, but it blew my mind. I was kind of expecting it to work, but even with that wet ash down there, it just pulled everything out of it, and of course as soon as you pull the magnet, off comes the hardware. So that's a really good way to go, and we kind of replicated that with the stove wand which we came up with. But I think it has to go to the cold shoe mount, which I'm using for a light at the moment. It had the most thinking in it and the most engineering, and it made me use the most tools, which is no bad thing. A huge thank you for First Fill Magnets for getting me to do this video, because really it's the first time I've used the workshop since we built it in the spring. But this I've already used for a microphone as well. The cold shoe style mount that we've got on here will just about take anything that's designed to go on top of a camera. So whether it's the microphone, which is on top of that camera now, whether I'm doing some photography and I want to put a flash on here, we can just pop them anywhere, and you can see I've got the magnets in the back there. They're set just about 1/2 mil below the wood, so it's not going to scratch anything. And even if you're using it on a surface, if it's on the cast iron top of the bandsaw or anything like that, it really doesn't shift. There's no chance of knocking it over. I definitely made a meal of it, and there are quicker ways and easier ways of doing this little contraption, but it's nice to put a bit of effort in now and then. But I'd love to hear which of those was your favourite, and if you've got any other hacks that you've done over the years and you want to share them with everyone else here, then stick them down in the comment section below, and we can have a bit of a magnet messaging marathon or something like that. Thank you again to First Fill Magnets for sponsoring this video, and be sure to make sure you subscribe to this channel where all sorts of DIY goodness goes on. But that's it, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time. And before I go, I've got to mention the anvil. I mean, I didn't think it was going to work, to be quite honest. I'm slowly getting into doing a bit more blacksmithing here, and I've must have watched 5 or 6 videos over the years. They've popped up on my feed of people putting magnets on the back, and you can't really tell from the video if it's actually working, and people using chains and other ways of deadening the noise, because it can be pretty straining if you're just bashing away all day and that constant ding 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 ding. But my goodness, those 2 magnets, which they really weren't that big, those bar magnets, just deadened it so quickly and effectively. And then we put that big ring magnet on there as well, and it was completely gone. And hopefully you might have seen that we were trying to monitor it on the phone. I don't know how well it came across in the video, but let me assure you that it was it was the most surprising one of the whole lot. That was the one that impressed me the most. Anyway, that's it. I promise I will stop rambling on about magnets. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.